Can we pull up Kirby Smart's comments about the 12 men on the field, about Jackson Moy not getting off the field? Now, this is Tennessee's fault. Jackson Moy's got to get off the field. However, I've never seen a situation, Caleb brought up the one that I'd forgotten about, when they had to look at the tape to see if 58 men were on the field when Tennessee played LSU under Derek Dooley and Chuck Smith. So, Caleb, other than that, I have never seen them stop play and look at the tape without a flag being thrown to see how many people were on the field. That's a problem I've got with it. I've also got the fact that ultimately it comes back on Jackson Moy. Get your rear off the field. I mean, just get off the field. So our Kirby Smart's comments, let's get to them on the 12 men and see if this makes you feel any better about that very mysterious flag. And by the way, I know, Andrew, what you said earlier, that the college football playoff doesn't want Georgia in there, but Georgia, they've gotten some pretty good calls this year. And I thought they got a few against Tennessee as well. I think there's always a subconscious lean towards look out for the most recent champion. I think that happens. And I think it's subconscious. I don't think referees do it on purpose, but they're a recent champion. And I think you tend to look out for the most powerful teams from year to year. But let's get to Kirby Smart's comments on the 12 men on the field.
All right, here we go. Pulling it up right now.
Coaches know how it's supposed to work, or at least they're supposed to know how it works. I mean, in terms of what you're given. And the issue is every conference officiates it differently. I've watched teams really late at night, so you can imagine where they're playing, what part of the country they're in, where that's completely accepted in terms of take as long as you want. They don't actually let you do that in our league, and that's really to benefit the teams that play with pace. Because if they allow you to sub and take all the time you want, then you really slow teams down. And, there's not a game that I played in that they don't come over there and tell you, you either got to speed your guys up or we're going to set it on the ready for play. We're going to wind the clock, because people have made it where if an offense makes a mistake and subs late, they're going to make them burn a timeout. Everybody tries to do it. We even try to do it. But you can't do it at the expense of there's 24 seconds, there's 23 seconds on the clock, and we're going to go sub a guy and take 20 seconds up, because that isn't what it takes. A lot of people say, well, they say you have to sub in 3 seconds. No, you have to start the substitution process in 3 seconds. That's how long you have to start the process. But it doesn't say once you start the process, you can go at a snail's pace off. They give you a reasonable amount of time, and they give you an opportunity to snap the ball. So that's the rule. And if somebody subs with 10 seconds left on the shot clock, they're probably going to get a delay of game if somebody tries to sub on defense. But if they do it with 20, there's reasonable time to sub.
Okay, if you're a Tennessee fan, does it make you feel any better? Brought to you by Medicare Misty, licensed in over 40 states. So if you're watching this, she can take care of you at no cost to you as well. Her advice is free. That doesn't make me feel any better. Medicare Misty.
19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
Caleb, does that explanation make you feel any better about that call and the way it went down?
No, but I don't think Kirby Smart realized that he accidentally admitted that Tennessee wasn't really in the wrong there. What did he say, Dave? Did you hear it?
I heard him. He said, you've got 3 seconds. And in that particular case, when we played the clip yesterday, it didn't look like they had 3 seconds. But again, it doesn't change my opinion that Jackson Moy's got to get off the field.
That's Kirby Smart made it very clear. You don't have 3 seconds to get off the field. He said you have 3 seconds to start the substitution. And then he said there's like a reasonable amount of time within when you have to get off the field. Well, what's that reasonable amount of time? It's not defined. Tennessee was taking advantage of a loophole in a field. So Kirby Smart, Tennessee did start the sub within 3 seconds, guys. They didn't say you have to get off the field within 3 seconds. He said you have to start the substitution within 3 seconds. Jackson Moy was going to the sideline within 3 seconds. Kirby Smart was saying it wasn't a reasonable amount of time to get off the field, so you have to call that penalty. Who says? What's the rule on reasonable? This is where I hate discretion. You don't have any right to say what's reasonable or not. Now, again, I'm exercising plausible deniability on behalf of Josh Heupel, Tennessee, and Jackson Moy, because that was unreasonable the way he was jogging to the sideline. You won't hear me debate that. But, Dave, that's total discretion that, again, no one has afforded Tennessee when their tempo is slowed because players are faking injuries. There's an old saying that, I go back to politics sometimes, where it's those who have power will wield it. Okay. And you see it on both sides. And what I mean by that is whenever one party's in power or another, you'll see the other party outside of power. I'll be like, they're abusing their power. This is not what the founders wanted. Well, if you don't like it, go get elected and then use the power in your own way. That's how I've always said it. Well, honestly, it's the same in this situation. If you don't like the rule, change the rule. But there's no rule saying that they have to get out once the substitution starts. They have to get off the field within a certain amount of seconds. There's nothing in that rule that says that. And I'm sorry, you don't get to say reasonable amount of time. What's the reason? Tennessee should not have been flagged. They started the substitution within 3 seconds. And that's the rule. And Kirby Smart acknowledged that's the rule.
No, he did. Who do you blame for the Jackson Moy 12 man on the field is our poll question. Moy, I'm still sticking with Moy, but people are going to jump all over the officials, and that's fine. And we talked about the officiating a lot, and it sounds like we're being a bunch of whiners. And anytime you talk about the officiating, and I didn't think it went Tennessee's way, I think that most oftentimes that's just a bad luck of the draw. I don't believe there's any smoke-filled room or any sort of thing where they're throwing down all these comments and making these decisions about which game needs to go which way to get the most SEC teams in. I don't believe that happens, but you kind of do.
I think, yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I'll go even further on that. I mean, I think that, one, I think it's an obvious case when teams are down that in the NFL to keep it a game, NFL officials blatantly favor the team that's trailing with their flags to try to keep it close. I don't think it's blatantly obvious here, but I do think there is I don't think anybody's in their ear. I just think it's kind of an unspoken rule of it'd be real good for us if this extra team got in. By the way, I mean, we don't know about pay or anything like that, but Dave, I mean, what if we find out that the number of teams in the college football playoff dictates the number of times a game is officiated by officials from that conference? Then the rest.
Wait, say that again.
What if the number of teams in the college football playoff from a conference dictates the number of games that will be officiated by officials of that conference? That's an incentive they have to get more teams in. That Greg Sankey doesn't have to put on, get them on the phone and call them. It's just, we could officiate more games. That's more money in our pockets. I mean,
I would hope that that's not going through anybody's mind.
Would it not go through yours if you were an official?
I don't know. There might be part of me that's ready for the season to be over. I mean, it's a long season.
You get paid by the game. Decent. You get paid by the game you officiate. You officiate extra games, you get more money.
Well, I understand, but these guys have other jobs. I mean, that's the thing that you've got to address. And I think it was Josh Pate that said this, right? You have to have full-time officials, and they have to. One of the officials needs to come out and he needs to answer to the media. And you don't do that if they're still doing insurance during the week, and a lot of them are, or financial advising. But you do if they're full-time and they're paid. And I've kind of done the rough math. I think it'd be about $25 million a year, which that's only about $1.5 million or so per team to have full-time officials. That to me is the most important pressing thing right now, other than fixing the college football playoff, which I'm the only person that seems to think it needs to be fixed.
No, you're not. No, we all think the college football playoff needs to be fixed.
Okay. I would just have a formula. Okay. So what's the bigger problem then? Full-time officials, really inconsistent officiating in big games, or is it the college football playoff and the way it's set up?
Oh, the college football playoff and the way it's set up. Inconsistent officiating is as old as time. It's just magnified more right now because of the fact that a lot of people have money on these games now, myself included. So if you're a degenerate gambler, I don't know if you guys realize how frustrating this officiating is a lot of times. But I absolutely think that the college football playoff set off. the college football playoff has, one, in a certain way, devalued many regular season games. And then more importantly, now they have disincentivized trying to win your conference title, which was a big weekend in college football for a good 25 years, maybe, so I just, they've, again, conference title games are not the tradition that you guys think they are. I mean, they didn't start till 1992, but they did become, I think they did de facto become, Dave, one of the most exciting weekends in college football, because there was so much riding on all the conference title games the week of. And it's like, what was so exciting about conference title week, Dave? It wasn't just conference title week and the magnitude and the playoff and even the BCS era. This stuff mattered. It's kind of the first weekend of the Christmas holiday season, because I am a Christmas doesn't start till after Thanksgiving. And if you guys come at me at all with any Christmas decorations whatsoever, I will just throw a temper tantrum, because it doesn't start till after Thanksgiving. But it was always the first official weekend of Christmas, it felt like, of the Advent season. And so there was that, just the magnitude of them, to see who goes to the playoff. Now you've basically said, who cares who wins these games? You're at that point.
No. Nolan says, I usually agree with Dave 90% of the time. Well, you're wrong a lot. But he's wrong on this one. The refs have held the ball for 15 seconds before allowing teams to sub against Tennessee. But one of the few times we try it, flag.
Thank you.
Fair?
Yes, they never call that. And this is what I'm talking about. This is where you this is like when the refs, okay, do you remember this, Dave, back in the day where the league did not want Allen Iverson to be the face of the league because, he had cornrows and he got in trouble. So what did they do? They all of a sudden, just randomly the next year, got really tight with their palming calls, which they had never called in the NBA before that.
No, one of those games was Tim Donaghy had money on the game.
But I'm saying, yes, but they also just got very strict on palming, because Allen Iverson basically abused the fact that they don't call palming with his handles.
I thought that was a problem across the sport. I mean, he may have been the most egregious.
But that's why they did it, because of AI. They did it because of AI, because AI was the most egregious and was the most obvious with it, and they didn't want AI to be the face of the league. Do you think with Michael, you want to know what they never call? They never call the travel on 3 steps going to the basket. Michael Jordan abused that. They never changed the rules on that. They never got tough on calling that. Why? Because they wanted Michael Jordan to be the face of the league. But with AI, when he palms, all of a sudden one year you see a massive explosion in palming calls that you never saw before in the history of the league.